set of questions. Uh, Technology has taken over our lives quite literally, with a whole new shift in the work culture, whether with clients or team members or with vendors. So, Gopal, my question to you is, do you see a change in the way of conversation with the clients or your associates?
Uh, yes, when it comes to you mean to say the communication with the clients, correct? Is that
Yeah, with the clients, with the associates, usually we used to do a lot of site meetings with the
correct,
vendors,
correct, correct,
with our associates or with the clients. Now it's moved on to technology based. We are more like
correct,
Huzefa said that the laptop is always available, it's
correct,
accessible,
correct.
we are available on our call. So how do you see that? That technology has stepped in a big time because of this whole shift in the work culture.
One thing I can say that my clients have finally understand that my physical presence is not really required on the site, because what happens is, we have been always, because maybe of the previous generations or the way the work is happening for so many decades, we have been trained mentally, or it's been forced like that. Okay, you please come on the site, there's some issue. Okay, so now because of the technology, even, and fortunately the technology is penetrate not only it is penetrate deep up to the lowest. I'll see the worker who's on the site. So, for example, even the contractors nowadays have their phones. So, and if there's any questions, they try to resolve the queries through video calls or something like that. So,
Right.
the troubleshoots primarily which were required to be solved, physically, are now happening virtually. Okay, those kind of troubleshoots. Okay. Also, clients have realized that uh, to have a site visit once, it is, a lot of efforts, a lot of communication, coordination is required for one site visit.
Right.
And they have realized that if that can happen without so much of efforts from all the agencies, it is fair enough at both the ends. They are also quite happy. We are also quite happy in a way. And yes, I mean, I hope this freedom which they have experienced, or they are trying to, they have realized that things can happen virtually, may take for a next generation or a few more years. Because suddenly what happens once again we are out of the lockdown, again, okay, come back to the site, we want you on the site. Okay.
Yeah.
So we always tell the client that, see, if things can work out over the video call or a or, or virtual meet, why we need to physically go and visit the place. Okay. And things have happened quite well in last few months. Okay, like that. So I think it's fair enough from our side. Even the clients have learned that, and teams have been, I'll say, much more proactive. Anyways, everybody's having the phone, so they have started realizing how things can be communicated over the pictures, how to mention the things more virtually rather than making the notes and doing the things more, handwritten or something like that. So things have been in a much better way in those contexts.
Shivani, would you like to add something to this?
No, I do agree. I think that, like I mentioned earlier as well, there have been pros and cons for the entire shift for sure. I feel like, meetings that could have been an email are, that's finally happening because of, the fact that we can actually access everything digitally. That shift is definitely positive, but I think I'll still stay, true to what I said in the beginning. For me, I think physical meetings, face-to-face interactions are very, very important and imperative. I truly believe that they build trust and rapport, and you kind of gauge non-verbal cues, and I think that's very, very important for what we do. My husband's in finance, and he's perfectly fine doing it online, completely. And he doesn't miss office. And I know 60% of the world population is absolutely embracing working digitally and everything happening online. I just don't think as an industry we're fully there yet. And while I totally endorse moving with times and kind of adopting to the new normal, and I feel like there is magic in creating in person. There is magic in being at site and doing meetings in person, and collaborating with people and brainstorming. I just think that it's a bit like reading, from a Kindle versus an actual book. I can't think of a
I
better
know.
metaphor
I
at this
understand.
point.
Like
But
we
yeah,
are
I
very
feel
used to
like,
touching the surfaces.
yeah, there's nothing wrong with the Kindle,
Yeah,
but I mean, a book is a book. It's yeah. So that's my take.
basically, the smell of a book is more important for us to
Yes.
connect with our work.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, this is my personal take, I'll be honest. Yeah. I may have to change with times. And I mean, as our team grows and we have younger people coming on board, they're going to
Right.
ask me to sort of, figure it out. Yeah. So,
I think at the end, we all will figure it out.
yeah.
So, when we talk about technology, smart homes and solution was conceived in the past as the future of homes and spaces. Do you feel that concepts like contactless spaces are practical solutions to revive the work culture in the future? Huzefa, can you please?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think we are humans. We need to see, feel, touch very importantly. I think Shivani has spoken about that, and I think no matter how much we progress in some way or the other, our future generations are also going to, out of habit, be remain. I mean, everyone will want to have those tactile experiences. Everyone will have to want to have those tangible experiences. So I think contactless spaces is okay for movies like Matrix from way back then, and like Minority Report. But I don't think that's something that we as people should ever, because otherwise then there is nothing left. I mean, where will humanity head to if we head into this direction of becoming robots and becoming all AI about our spaces and about our experiences and everything else? I mean, I think then education will have to change, right? Right, from how our kids are taught from way back, in kindergarten to what you are taught in design school. Everything has to change then. And I
Right.
don't, I don't think we should. I mean, there is enough BS happening in the world right now. I think that's the second time I use this word in this talk. But anyways, there is enough of that happening. Any to then, start moving to this whole ideology of contactless spaces. I hope we don't get there. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah.
So, speaking of technology and development, do you think concept of green and sustainable interiors are contradictory? Sarah, let's begin.
So I think in every panel discussion and every magazine and every article, there is this touch topic of green and sustainable interiors. Okay. Now, realistically, I have seen Shivani's work, I have seen Huzefa's work, I have seen Gopal's work. I know our work. None of us are doing anything sustainable. Let me tell
Yeah.
you. Okay. Our whole industry is not sustainable. So if we have to, for the sake of ticking a point off the list, say yes, it is very important. It is. But there is a systemic problem, which is that there is no regulation that exists for materials and products that are available in our market. Okay. So if there are, say, just for example, a plywood or a paint available, there are 300 brands selling things with no regulation, which have the worst kind of materials going in it that are all horrible for the environment. Okay. And then there
Right.
will be one material which is 4 times the price, which is the eco-friendly and sustainable material. Now, we at the end of the day are bound by budgets with our clients. So, as much as I may believe in it conceptually, and we try our best to use anything that is sustainable, eco friendly, it is a systemic problem in our industry, and there needs to be a regulatory body. Because if you see anywhere, whether it is Europe or whether it is the US, products are not allowed to even enter the market unless they have passed certain environmental tests. We don't have any of that in our market. So every product you use, whether it is a PU paint or whether it's just a normal melamine polish, it's horrible for the environment. But at the same time, if you have a project where a client is telling you my budget is X, and I'm begging him saying, listen, there's this material that's much better, but it's X plus 20%, he'll say no. So we have a problem with what is available in our market. For us as designers, we are very happy to use sustainable materials and have eco-friendly spaces, and that very much is the future. But we need to move together as an industry towards doing this, because when we are doing luxury homes, even with clients that have unlimited budgets, as soon as they feel like there are two materials that have the same effect, like a paint, but one is 20% more expensive and sustainable, they just go for the normal one. So there needs to be a lot more awareness, a lot more availability of products, And so there should not be any option. All products should be eco-friendly and sustainable. Why are we even selling products in the market that are in such a bad, so bad for the environment? Because we are bound by our clients and our budgets at the end of the day. And no matter how much we insist, at the end of the day, it's that person's house, that person's budget, and that person's money that's leaving their pocket. So if they say they're not comfortable spending money on XYZ, I'm not going to walk away from the project and say, no, you're not using a sustainable material. I'm canceling you as my client. So we really need a lot more products to enter the market, and we need a proper regulation of sustainability to happen, which is, I think, the only way forward. There are products, but it's very
Yes.
limited, and I really feel like it needs to become mainstream. All are mainstream products. Everything from a screw, a nail, a plyboard, a paint, everything needs to have all the sustainability built into it, and we have to use only these products. The problem is that that's not the case, so it becomes very difficult. And if you're looking at us, which is just for designers versus the larger community of interior designers that's working, there's no way that those guys are going to have access to sustainable products, because if you're looking at a tier 2 or tier 3 city where anyway just normal things like fluted glass is difficult to find, the sustainable products is a very far cry. So as a market and as a marketplace, we need to really grow and change in terms of materials and what is actually used, because we can sit here talking about, yes, sustainability is so good, we should all build green homes, yes, my projects are the best, they're all eco-friendly, sustainable. It's bullshit. No one is actually legitimately doing it except for some guys in the villages that are building these straw and hay architectural marvels. Okay, we're all doing things that are eco-friendly, not eco-friendly every day. So yeah, it's a systemic problem, and we all have to do our bit for sure, but there has to be a change happening on a much larger scale.
Exactly. So with the current pandemic, I think a lot of us, most of us, in fact, have realized that the importance of environment saving and sustainable solution is a need of the hour. But more than that, do you think, as a community or as responsible citizens, we can influence or create that awareness and shift? It, of course, has to be a gradual change and shift, but do you think that we can influence our clients?
I agree. We can and we do. So if there are material options available between one, two, three, we very much do introduce and ask them for the materials that do have less of an environmental impact or imprint. But a lot of it boils down to price and aesthetics. And frankly, there are not that many materials that are available in the market for the general use and the general public. But for us, of course, I know all of us, Shivani, Huzefa, Gopal, I'm sure as well, are trying our bit and doing it, but it's a bit. Whereas the
Yeah,
reality is that it should be a lot. Everyone
a
is
lot.
doing their bit, right? That's where the
Yeah.
problem is. It should be
Yeah.
industry standard, which it is not. It should be just all our projects are 100% sustainable or using materials that are all certified, which is definitely not the case for any designer that I know or I've interacted with.
So,
I also feel that, sorry, I'm just going to add to what Sarah said. Basically, the thing is, sustainability is it's not, like a design solution. I think it's more of a lifestyle.
like,
So it has to come from the client. We know that we have several clients who reach out to us saying that, yes, we want to literally have a solar farm because we want to give back to the grid, because they really understand technology to that level. They know more than us. So I think it is a brief that comes from the client. Yes, in some way, I look at myself as being 100% responsible for giving it to that client, because I also have to run a practice. I also have to meet my ends, right? So I am responsible for that largely, because I know that there are many other architects, whether it's, Put Your Hands Together, whether it's Vinu Daniels, who have sort of, like they have pioneered sustainable design in the true sense of this, and they are walking the talk, and they have put their foot down saying that, oh, this is how I'm going to build, whether it's architecture, whether it's interiors, this is exactly how it is. And they have created that niche, which is very much required, and they are getting those sort of clients, right? So I think, like Sarah said, that it is a lot, of the client's brief also. But when it comes to me personally, yes, I am in some way responsible. I have a reason for giving to that brief,
But
so I
Josefa,
guess,
this is what I'm saying. This is my problem, is
yeah,
that there are architects that are separate sustainable architects and sustainable designers, and those who want sustainability go and approach those people. And they don't,
right,
the ones that come to us
yeah,
are not
Yeah.
necessarily
I'm
the
not.
guys. They're not.
Yeah.
So that's a problem, right? That
Correct.
sustainability should be a part of every designer's brief, every designer's clientele, and every project, which it is not. There are the special sustainable architects that are doing their
Right.
own practice, have their own niche, but that's not how it should be. So there's that the system is
Exactly.
broken, right? We should
Yeah.
all be
Yeah.
doing it as industry standard, which is not at all what's happening. There's a very small segment
Yeah.
of
Right.
designers that are doing it. All of us are not doing it,
Yeah.
and
I do
and
have
that's
to
not how
agree
the
with
market
that.
works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like Sarah said and Huzefa as well, I think we're very, very far away. We're a very budget conscious market. I mean, like Sarah said, everything is so budget driven. Where are we going to insert the conversation of sustainability? We've just about begun to use LED light fittings, because it saves
Correct.
money on the electricity bill.
Yeah,
So that
yeah.
again is, it's connected to that bottom budget line. So I just feel like it's definitely a conversation that needs to start and it's got to start with us. But I'll tell you, clients in cities like ours are don't care beyond the point, and it's really really sad that they don't. But it's the truth.
Exactly.
It really really is the truth.
You
Um,
know, sorry, one more thing. Actually, just an experience I want to share. So, way back in
yeah,
2006, I was in Atlanta at the time, and I had applied for my lead exams, and
yeah,
I got my lead certification. And I went for
mm,
this big seminar, on sustainable design. And
yeah,
I found it such a sham. I found it such a marketing gimmick. And I came out of that, and I'm like, you know what? I mean, our people, our country has been far more sustainable. We've been washing clothes by hands and drying them in the sun and not, giving into
mm,
like washing machines and,
yeah,
like washer dryers, etc. for the longest of times. Of course, the whole aping the West has gone completely in a different direction for us
yeah,
also as a country, right? And so I think that just opened my eyes to, the whole sham that, I mean, lead also is, there is no leadership in energy and environmental energy efficient design. I mean, I think it's just again what you want to do, and it's your choice of lifestyle. Right from the kind of food that you eat to the farmers that you are, wanting to promote and buying directly. I mean, farm to fork, everything. It's all just such a marketing gimmick. I mean,
It
I think
is.
I'm so glad you're
we've
saying
been
that.
born and brought
It's
up
worth
with that, right?
addressing.
So it's a much larger conversation. But I think, yeah, it's
So I had one like aha moment where I was talking to someone who sold plywood, okay, and he was telling me about a eco-friendly plywood that's available in the market, which has no emissions and is really good for the environment. And so I was like, okay, but what about your normal plywood that we've all been using for centuries? He's like, no, no, that has
Yeah,
horrible emissions and that lets out all VOC and that's horrible to be breathing. So I'm like,
yeah,
wait a minute. So all these years in our houses and all our projects, we have been using this plywood that lets out horrible fumes, and it's just totally normal to do it. And now in 2021, they've introduced one that's eco-friendly, which has been used in Europe for decades and decades and decades. So that's how bad our industry is. That's how bad the problem is, and that also it's a niche plywood that people are having to get convinced to use. That
yeah,
please don't die from the fumes of the plywood in your own house. Buy a better plywood, and it's that's how basic our industry is. So I think these talks of sustainability and whatnot are better saved for the magazines and the symposiums where people pretend like yes we are all doing such a good job and we are trying our best as an industry, but that's just not the reality. We're so far away. We are so
yeah.
so so far away.